catches more the sense of wonderment, confusion, not knowing, those kinds of things. So you have a set of 4 pictures tonight, if you look at them with me. Well, why don't you help a little bit? Let's identify things you see in every picture. What are things that you see in every picture? Let's start out.
Joseph and an angel.
Yeah, Joseph and an angel is there. That's in every picture. Okay? Exceptions to the rule. What do you see that you saw last week? That was in pretty much all the pictures. I don't think it's as obvious here. Yeah, you see the hand, the pointing, okay? And, that's, they call the pointer, in school, I think we call that the pointer. The pointing finger. Okay, what are the exceptions that you see here that in these pictures?
Mary. Mary's in 3.
Mary's in 3, yeah, and I guess it's the artist's way of saying that Mary's the principal character here, and she's really involved in this whole story. But and I guess you couldn't. Well, you can do it without that, because if you look at the upper left, you'll see that and here in the upper left you have a younger woman. There's no obvious nature of wings. I don't see nature of wings there. They say that her arm is intentionally in front of the candle to lighten her face and the radiance. And some think that the image here comes out from the call of God to Samuel through Eli the priest. Come, Samuel. And then Samuel went, "Here I am, Lord, I will serve." And I don't even get the connection, but that's some of the words that are put in the description. Again, you don't find a lot of description. The lower left one, the artist makes a point of saying that you almost have solid blotches of light in the midst of darkness. All the background is pretty dark, and they're just starkly there. Maybe that's to set the 3 off from the darkness that it can be in our life, that the light is just so glaring against it. But you'll notice in that bottom left picture you have the tools of Joseph's labor, and the artwork suggests that maybe he's sleeping on one of the chairs that he made because he was a carpenter. They make a comment about the angel being sort of heavy and hanging in the air there, like how could that be? The artist made it a stocky. This doesn't look like a fragile angel to me. Let's see. Well, again, the bottom right one is more. It's out of a Flemish artist, but it's a little bit more hazy and not as clear as the others. They make, in the top left one, they make a case for, if you've ever seen the picture of the prodigal son, and the book that was written about the picture talks particularly about the hands of the son and the father, and makes a whole case about it. Well, here they make a case at how the cupness of the young woman's or angel's hand and the curvedness sort of draws you into the art or the picture. Anybody else have any observations? I'm just sort of jumping around.
Joseph seems much older in the upper left one.
Okay.
Has a gray beard.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we know in the left top one that is an angel? That's not Mary? I mean, that.
Well, no.
looks
I mean,
pregnant to me.
Yeah, it does.
no. The artist's rendition says, it says a young child in biblical clothing. So maybe that's the way that person conceived it, because there are no wings. It's obvious. And I didn't think it till now, but today I looked at that and it looked like the young child was even expecting. But it's hard to tell what that is, in the room that's there. So I don't know, but that's a good observation. Anybody else have anything?
I was thinking that top left one, the people look the most real. That means it looks like the most.
Right.
Authentic.
Okay, yeah, yep, yeah. Okay.
That's the oldest. That's just completely off the.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, because it focuses around confusion of all of this. So what I want to do to summarize the whole series, when we talked last week about fear, really was more this kind of fear, but that could have been mixed. Today we're talking about confusion. Next week we're going to talk about doubt, and we're going to talk about curiosity. All of those get connected with anxiety. Just think for yourself about when you're very much confused, it can make you anxious. Certainly when you're afraid, you can become anxious. I think that a person with an overabundance of curiosity can become anxious about finding an answer, but still. And what I want to say to you about that is that all of those are fairly normal. I don't think we'll ever escape any of them. But the problem is when our anxiety gets too strong, when we get fear and it paralyzes us, or doubt and it paralyzes us, then that robs us of our ability to be aware of and perceptive of what's happening in that moment and what response we have to it. So when we talked about an overall theme last week of, we think of light during Advent, the creator of this series says, well, don't just focus on the light giving you hope and joy, but think about how there are dark moments in our life when God's presence certainly is with us and through which we grow and learn. He doesn't always say that's a wonderful event. He says, give me more of that, God. Okay? But he does say that in dark moments, in prayer, we talk about dark night of the soul, and that's when the owl helps us see better, because the owl sees in the dark. So while we often want to run from those dark moments, spirituality would say, don't be so interested in trying to escape the moment, but find what benefit might be in it for your life and relationships. And I bet you can join me in finding in your own life things that you went through that were pretty dark moments out of which you grew. Now, I don't think you're saying, okay, Lord, send me a lot more of those. I'd like to grow. But it is a part of life that we are experiencing these things. Okay. So, when we get to confusion, to put a label on that, what are the things in our lives that confuse us? I met with somebody today that they're trying to make some decisions in their life, and so they laid out all the different options. And of course, through it all was this sense of confusion. In other words, I don't have clarity about how to sort this out. So I said, okay, share with me all the parts of this. I will try to listen, and then I will make some comments. And what I said to the person was, okay, go home now and take the things and write down the pluses and minuses of each thing, and then try to tabulate. Do you think it's more positive to move this way, or more positive to move this way, given your perception of how the change would impact you? I can think of times in my life when Sally was sick, there was a lot of confusion because everybody would want to quickly run and do something, and we didn't know what to do. So you start here, and then you hear conflicting stuff, so you know how it works. You're just confused. And what I want to say to you is that God would say to us that he's in those moments. So when we're in those moments, how do we get focused? How do we find a way to resolve? Now, let's go to dreams for a minute. When I was in therapy, we often used dreams to sort out what was going on. And when a person had a dream that stuck out in their life, they were asked to share their dream with the group. And then the group said, this is what I hear and what I feel when you're sharing the dream. Dreams are said to relate to something going on in our life recently, Okay? So you can look to recent events if you dream. How many of you dream regularly? Okay? Do you write your dreams down? Do you remember the dreams?
Very seldom.
Okay. So if you want to do this, you can do it. You just put a pad of paper by your bed, and when you wake up, then you write it down so you don't lose it. And what we did was the person told the dream, and then everybody said what they felt, and from what they knew about the person in the group, what the dream might be saying to them. For instance, a couple months ago, Anna said to me, "Oh, Pop, I had this dream." And I said, "Well, Anna, what did you tell me to dream?" She said, "Well, I was there, and it was Grandma, and she told the whole dream, and she was really puzzled by the dream. But everything she told, there was no pain in it. So the only thing I said to her was, well, Anna, I can't explain all the details, but there's certain things happening in the dream, but none of them seem to scare you. So I would take the dream as a good dream in terms of Grandma's okay. There's not that anxiousness there. So everything in the dream, while it was kind of like, what's this mean? What's that mean? It was sort of something that gave her peace. Now, I will tell you that in my life, I have a couple of recurring dreams, and they really express who I am. One is, I'm leading worship, and I'm standing up there before all these people, and I'm trying to lead the worship, and I can't find the page in the hymnal. So I'm doing this, and meanwhile, I'm getting more and more frantic trying to do this, and that's my sense of frustration, which I easily can have a lot. So I have another one is I'm playing soccer, and the ball's there, and I'm running as hard as I can, and it's like I'm slow motion. I can't get there. And again, it just drives me crazy with this kind of, not being able to get there to finish out. So the Bible is full of dreams. There's dreams all over the place. And God uses dreams as an instrument of information and as a resource to the people with whom he's relating this. God with us, Emmanuel. And if there's one thing I want you to remember about this, is that God says he'll be with us. So he doesn't always get specific about how. But I would not take your dreams out of the realm of God speaking to you. Any more than I would take out of the realm of you're talking with me and me saying something to you that is being a spokesman for God. Or you saying to me something that you observe in me or see in me, and you being a spokesman to God for me to God. That doesn't mean the Scripture isn't available to us. It doesn't mean that events don't send us. It just means that the resources we have for awareness and presence of God are myriad. God works what? What's the phrase say? God works in mysterious ways. So I think the biggest problem is that we don't always take time to focus on what God might be wanting to say to us. And of course, one of the prayer things this evening, one of the opening things says, when people are confused about your will for their lives or for the world, we pray for clarity. Well, I don't know about you, but I can name a lot of situations where I struggle and I like purpose rather than will. Maybe because it's a different word. Maybe it's because I think that when people think of will, they think if I think hard enough, I'll get it all figured out. This is God's will for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can put the numbers together and have a match, I don't think that. See, and I may be wrong. I'm just sharing with you what for me. I think God has a purpose for me. But I think God has some trust in me deciding or focusing on what that purpose might be. So it's not like, okay, God, I don't know anything about what's going on here. You tell me. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But is God mixed in with the situations in my life and leading me in a path and have a purpose for me? Yeah. And I won't say to you that I can pinpoint that it's there, exactly when it happened, how it happened, but I will tell you this. I just wrote for my alumni at Concordia Prep in Bronxville, and just the brief story is this. I was in church in confirmation class. I was 14 after all, you know. And the pastor said, well, you know, if you want to be a pastor, you go to the school in New York. And all I heard was, go to school in New York. Because I was not very happy at home. I didn't like it. There were no rules. There was no discipline. I interpreted that as no one cares about me. And so when someone said, you go away to school, I thought, whoa, this is great. I'm getting out of here. And the ministry was, my mother bought it right away. Oh, he's going to be a minister. Dad, you know, well, that was good, you know. Well, 3 or 4 times, the principal and my pastor and my father had a conversation. Should we let Dave Betzner stay here? He's not doing too good. And the principal of the school said, give us a little more time. I think it'll work. So I believe that God spoke through that whole process, because the more I was there, the more I felt like God was calling me to be a pastor. So I want to encourage you to try to listen. Listen to what's being said to you. Listen to the dreams you have. Listen to the opportunities that God's Word has for you. And here's the last story I'll tell you. It was time for the beginning of confirmation, and Anthony showed up in my office. Now here's another kid, 14, 13. Well, Pastor, he says, you know, I'm not, you got to understand, Anthony, he sort of took his time getting there. He said, you know, I got a lot of friends, Pastor, you know, and geez, I don't want to talk to them. They were, God, woo, you believe in God? What's all this stuff, you know? And they talked to me about all this stuff, you know, and so I just really don't, I mean, I don't think I'll be invested in confirmation this year. I just don't think I want to do that. I sat there for a minute. I said, well, Anthony, I guess I can certainly feel what you think you might want to do about that. I said, could I say something? Well, sure, Pastor. Now, remember, I worked with his mom. I might have married somebody. I buried somebody. I was at family things and everything. So my word was important. So I said, well, Anthony, I'm a little concerned. Here's my concern. You're getting all this stuff from your friends that is causing you to have doubts about God. I just think that it's important for you to have the other side of the issue. So I think you should come to confirmation. Now, take the input from your friends. Give God a chance to speak to you in your life as you go through the confirmation. And you come to your own place about that. He sat there for a couple minutes. He said, Pastor, you know, that's a pretty good idea. I think I'll do that. Well, you did. So again, I'm not saying to you that God worked this up and everything, but I believe that God was in that moment. And it was a moment certainly of tension and confusion for him. And so I think when we're struggling, the key is to try to pay attention in my struggle to the resources God offers. I will be with you, whatever it is, dark, light, in between, fast, slow, up and down, doesn't matter. God's there. God is with us. And so, one more piece. So I had someone make altar pyramids for the altar for the kids' Advent lesson, which we have over there. Debbie made this, Debbie and Jean, right? Yeah. And I gave some little clues about some stuff I thought, and they came up with this. And I thought, what a marvelous thing for tonight. Well, you all know, and I don't know, they didn't explain their logic to me, I just gave some stuff. You know, Advent is about hope. And if you remember right, after the flood, God said what? I'm going to put a rainbow in the sky, and it's a sign to you that I will not again destroy the earth with a flood. But in Advent, he's getting ready to give us his heart, his child. So when I said to the kids today, I said, you know, this is great. Here we have the rainbow and God's heart. And that's what God promises in Advent. If you are paying attention, if you are awake, if you are aware, if you look, you will find that God is saying, here's my heart. It's a promise to you. And the promise of the heart is that God is varied and rainbowish in terms of the energy and the joy that it gives us when we see it, and the promise that it offers after harsh rain and destruction through storm and those kind of things. So again, I know God speaks to you. I hope he is. I hope you keep focused on Advent as a time of hope in all kinds of situations of God's presence, and that you're aware that God is making his heart available to you. And of course the heart, we use the heart a lot for a center of our feelings and love and things like that, and that's what God offers during Advent. So, yeah.
And like you said, God gives us both the dark times and the bright times, and in order to have the rainbow, you basically have to have some dark times first.
Yeah. So, anyway, so there we are. Any other things we could talk